So as you can see here, I've got two 6-inch round chocolate cakes. So what I want to do is a double barrel tier, which is very, very in vogue just now. And it's just really nice. You see a lot of the wedding cakes and birthday cakes that are different sizes, not the same depth. Traditionally, when I had the cake shop, it was always just this depth. That was the deepest cake you ever did, and it'd be like a 1086 or whatever size. Where now it's really nice. You get a double barrel and a single tier, then maybe a double barrel, and it just looks really nice and really modern and fresh, which is really nice. So that's what I want to show you, is really just how to master this style of cake to make it nice and easy for production. So the first thing we've got, as I say, we've got the two 6-inch round cakes, which are about 2.5 to 3 inches in depth. So you want to bake them nice and deep. And then this is just a temporary board just to sort of ganache on, you then transfer it over. And then we need two 6-inch round cake cards. Now the idea is one goes in the middle, so it keeps it nice and strong, and it's easier for cutting for the wedding couple or the hotel when they're cutting it up. It means there's two separate cakes rather than one big massive slice. So always thinking these little things for your customer when they come to cut the cake, that it's much easier for them to cut singly rather than a big massive double tier. Okay, so what we want to do first of all is just sort of cut and level the cake. So you can use your Agby or your cake slice, or I'm just going to just trim off the top here. Now I remember way back, before these type of cakes were popular, we used to get the odd person when we had the cake shop looking for a double height, and I just remember the whole week being really stressed up until the day we had to ice that cake, because it would just be 5 or 6, 7 attempts to ice this cake, and still never been happy with it. So it's quite nice it's came into trend, and everyone's been working out how to ice them neatly. Okay, now this cake's got a little bit of a bit that's came off there, but that's fine. I don't have to worry about that. That'll get all ganached out the way. And then we just want to do the same with this one. Now what I might do is just trim off this lid. So you can see here that it's actually, the cake mixture has come right over the top, but that gives me a really nice and deep cake. Now generally what you'll find when you're doing a double barrel type cake is the smaller the cake, so if it was a 4-inch round double barrel, is a lot harder to ice than maybe an 8 or a 10-inch round. Okay, so I thought I'd do a 6-inch, so it's kind of, well, I'd say a semi-hard one. It's not the really hard, which would be the 4-inch round. We're going to go for the 6-inch round one for that. Okay, so there we are. So we've got the two cakes cut there. Now if you want to cut them in half to put the filling in, you can cut it in half and put the filling in, so you've got two separate fillings, but I'm not going to do this because the cake's not going to be eaten. It's just a display one. So there we go. So that's the cake cut. So what I want to do is I just want to pop a little bit of ganache on the board, and that's really to stop it from moving. I like the cake to be stuck down firm, so when I'm icing the cake it doesn't move. I'm going to put a 6-inch round cake card. Now let's say for instance you bake the cakes, one cake's a bit more shallower than the other one, so it's just baked a bit smaller. So rather than cut them level, which you don't have to do when it's a double barrel, what we can do to bring the height of this, rather than use a cake card, we can use a cake drum. So it's a lot thicker, and then when you sit this on there, you've instantly got that extra platform. So instead of being there, it sort of sits about there. Okay, so again, that's a good way to get an extra height. Or if you don't want to bake off two cakes, and you just want maybe like a 1.5 deep, rather than baking a half depth cake, what you can do is just put 3 cake drums on the board, ganache together, and then the cake just sits on top of the 3 cake drums, which gives the extra height as well. Okay, or we can just go for the all cake option. Okay, so that's the card down there. So again, I'm just going to pop some ganache on. Remember, enough to stick it down, but not too much that they can't get the cake off when they're cutting it. Okay, so there we go. So you can see here, it's quite good. So the cake's just fitting nicely inside that size of that card, like so. Okay, now once this is on here, the big mistake a lot of people do is they just put ganache. So you've got a layer of ganache, and a layer of ganache, and a layer of ganache. And as I was saying before, you end up with this massive cake. So when they come to cut the cake, it's this huge slice. Okay, so what we do is we just pop a card in the middle, like so. Now, the only slight problem with that is you can see there, the card is coming out from the outside, okay? Now, that's not so good for the middle bit. So rather than leave that in, just get your scissors and just go around and just take about 1 centimetre off all the way around. Okay, so there we go. So that's fine. So that keeps it inside the space there. Now, what we've got to think about, if we're doing a tiered cake, so there's going to be another cake on top of here, or maybe another 2 cakes on top of the double barrel, you've got to think about the collapsing of it. If you're going over lots of bumps on the delivery, the cake's going to be bouncing up and down, so you've got to make sure you put internal supports in. Okay, so for the internal supports, we've just got the dowels here. So what I want to do is I want to put in here and then put one in here, okay? And then just get your food pen and then just mark. Now, if you struggle with keeping things level, rather than do it this way where I'm just marking them to the size of each part of the cake, you can cut the dowels all the exact same size, put them in, and it means that when the cake pushes down, they'll all level off. But I don't have any problems just cutting them all individually and popping them on. Okay, so that's 4 on there. Now 4's probably enough for a cake this size, but sometimes what's quite good is just to pop one in the middle, just for good measure. Okay. There we are. Okay. And that's really just taking the stress away for delivery or the cake falling over, which is never that good. So just pop the ganache on there. Okay, there. And then just plop that on there, like so. Okay, and then another little bit more ganache on top. There. Okay, and then just pop this cake on top. Okay, so you want to get down level, have a little look. Now the top bit looks pretty flat to me, I'm pretty happy. Now if I hold it at that angle, it's not very flat. You can see it's definitely run down a slight slope there. So we just want to get the knife and just give it a little trim. It doesn't take too much because the ganache will fix it anyway. Just enough just to level it off, get back down again, that's all good. Excellent. Okay, so then what we want to do is think about round the side of the cake. We want to try and keep the cake inside the card. So this is a 6-inch card at the bottom. So if we get, I've got an extra long side scraper. Now if I put the scraper against the card, you should see quite a lot of light coming through. If you don't see a lot of light coming through, it means we need to trim some of that cake away. There we go. So there's a bit of darkness there, so it might just be that ganache actually. Yeah, that's all right. Oh. Seems to be pretty good actually. Okay, that's good. So it means, obviously where we're seeing the light, that's where the ganache is going to fill. So there's no cake coming over the card. So it means we can get a nice layer of ganache going round. So I'm going to have a quick tidy up, and then when we come back, we're going to apply the ganache around the side of the cake. Welcome back. So now we're going to move on to applying the ganache to the side of the cake. So you can see here, we've got a big batch of dark chocolate ganache, my favourite. So what we want to do is just on here, now I'm right-handed and I always apply on the left-hand side, just so we're getting that nice brush strokes back and forward. Okay, or paddle strokes, not brush strokes, but you know what I mean. So all the way around. And I'm just starting from the bottom, and then once I've got it coated all the way around, I then start to bring the ganache up. Okay. Now remember, quite a lot, because you really want the ganache to be really thick, so when we come to scrape the sides, you can do it in one shot or 2 shots. It's funny we're discussing the ganache quantities, because sometimes when you do a cake and you wait before and after with the ganache, sometimes it seems to be a lot more than other times, but we've realised, I think, it's the you've got to account for some of the nibbles that you have, some of the Scooby snacks as well, when you're making cakes. Okay, all the way around. Okay. Now remember that lip at the top, we want to see a nice lip at the top there as well. Okay. Right, now I could do another wee lip there as well. Okay, I hope that's enough. So I've got the metal scraper here. So all I want to do is just pop a little bit of water on. I like it to be wet when I'm scraping around. Some people do it dry, but I prefer it to be wet. Okay. Now looking at it, I think I might not have put enough in the middle, but let's just see what happens. So we just want to pop the scraper on, bring your hand round, and we're just scraping round and then pulling it off. Okay, take it off, a little bit more water. Okay, again, just pop that on, apply the pressure, try and do it in a nice clean sweep all the way around. Okay, so let's have a look at that. That looks nice, so you can see that looks good there. We've got a wee gap there. Now you can see the silver card at the bottom, so it means I've scraped right against the card. Actually, that bit is showing I've not scraped against the card, so maybe when I go round here, that'll just take that bit away. How's that? That's pretty close. Okay, so that's quite good. So what I'm going to do is just to finish off, I'm just going to fill any of these little gaps. Pop a little bit of ganache. Remember I said I thought I'd missed a wee bit in the middle. So if in doubt, just chuck more on. There we are. Okay, and then same thing again, just around. Okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, that all looks good. Now if we hold the scraper again, it's just to check. Let's just see. Now you can see there at the top, it's hitting the top first before it hits the bottom. So it means I've maybe just had an angle slightly out like this. So I need to just go round and just press more at the top when I'm going round. So pop it on there, but I'm just putting a bit more pressure at the top. You can see there, you can see it's more at the ganache than at the bottom there. Okay, again, just good. So again there, it's just a wee bit too high, so I'm just going to scrape that away. Okay. Now it's still showing that I'm still a little bit too high at the top, so I'm just going to wet this again. Okay, so just on there again and then just round. There we go, now that's got to be good now. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Okay, so all done. So what we want to do now is we just want to pop the cake in the fridge, maybe for 5–10 minutes until it firms up. It's a bit too soft just now. And then when it comes out, we're going to go round and trim off the edge and then pop the ganache on the top. So the cake's been in the fridge and it's firmed up so nicely. So what we're going to do is just chop the top off. Now, if you found that you've it in the fridge and you left it in too long, it's rock solid, just bring it and leave it for 10-15 minutes to soften again before you cut it. If it's brittle, what will happen is it will just break off and you'll get chunks coming off the bottom because it just kind of forms as one big piece. Okay, so hot water, palette knife, and all I want to do is find the lower part and just go on there and just around, and all I want to do is just go around and cut that off. Now, you see what I did there is that the water comes up to about halfway. So you start from the tip and you push the knife down, like so. And it just keeps it nice, the palette knife always wet, so it glides through that chocolate. And the last wee bit there. Okay, so there we are. So we've got a nice hard side and then it's hard at the top. So when we put the ganache on top, we've got something to scrape against to get that nice sharp edge. Okay, so some more ganache. It's very unusual because we're having a day of summer. I think we'll just say a day of summer in Scotland just now. So I'll be back to cold tomorrow. So it's very unusual that my ganache isn't setting. Normally I'd have to keep popping it in the fridge. Sorry, in the microwave to warm it up again. Now I've got it on the turntable here. I'm going to take it off because you can see it's wobbling around. I want to make sure we get a nice level top. There we go. There we go. Okay, so don't just leave it all rustic. Try and smooth it out as much as possible. As soon as you start smoothing it out, you'll start to see there's a lower part, like so. Okay. Good. Okay. Now you can use the back of the palette knife, or if you have a metal ruler, you want to use a metal ruler, and just pop the ruler in, the hot water, pinching the ruler, bending your knees, and just lean to the side of the cake there, and just slowly start to pull the ganache back. And once we get to just the last sort of inch at the end there, just lift the palette knife, the scraper up. Okay, now if we just have a little look, see how that looks. So you can see, turn it to the side, let's have a look. So it looks nice and flat, and then it's just taken off at the end there. And it's much easier to fix that than for the scraper to go down and you end up with a curve going down the way. That's much harder. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that, that's perfect. And then before it goes back into the fridge, all I want to do is just grab a little small scraper and just take that excess ganache away from the top. So just pop that on there. And because that ganache is hard on the side, it means we've got something to scrape against, like so. Now there's 100 different ways to ganache cakes. You'll see them all online, but this is the way that I prefer to do it. I think it's nice and easy, and it gives a nice finish. Okay, so I'm going to pop this back in the fridge. Once it's hard, we bring it back out and we're going to go around, trim that edge off, and then we're going to move on to stage 2 and 3, which are nice and quick. So the cake's been in the fridge and it's nice and firmed up again. So back out with the hot palette knife, and then this time I want to be a bit more precise. And we just want to go round again and just trimming off that edge. So there we go. So we'll go right over the bit that we took off at the end there. It just cuts it off and it was nice and easy. Okay, and then just there. Okay, so the last little bit. There we are. Okay, so once that's done, the second stage is what I generally do is go round and I'll look to see if there's any bits need filled. And it actually seems fine. Okay, so that's good. So then what I want to do is let me just pop some more hot water in here actually. What I want to do now is with the hot palette knife, is just go around and smooth the top and the sides off. Now what happens is with that hot water, it warms the metal up and it just melts a thin layer of the ganache on top and gets it nice and smooth. You can see how nice and smooth that looks. And we just want to do the exact same around the side, so hot palette knife, and just go around, and we're just giving it a little bit of a facial and just getting it nice and smooth. Okay. You might go on better with a cranked palette knife. Now I always say when you're doing this work, when I change from using buttercream to ganache, I would have buttercreamed this cake in about 2 minutes and then thought, well, the sugar paste is going to hide it. So it can just be done fast. And all of a sudden you're spending 20 minutes, half an hour on a cake like this to get it just ganached. But the difference is night and day. Okay, so there we go. So around there, and then to finish off, stage 3 is really just a pastry brush in the water, and I want to go back and forward, and I'm just smoothing that off and get a nice smooth surface. Turn around. Not too much water, make sure you drench, you squeegee some of that water off, just enough to smooth around. Okay. Okay, and then across the top. And there we go. So that's the cake now ganached. So I'm going to tidy up, make sure you just get some tissue paper, just clean the board, get rid of all the excess ganache, clean the table, clean yourself, and then we come back, we're going to get the sugar paste out. So now we come on to the really tough bit, the icing of the cake. And it's not that tough, but it's quite tricky. But the big thing here is all about the sugar paste or the fondant, whatever you call it. Now, when I was talking about years ago when we used to do the cakes, I used to ice a cake like this using the Renshaw's sugar paste. And what I used to find is I used to get the cracks around here every single time. And that was the problem with it. It was just too cracky. So it's not designed that well for doing the tall tiered double barreled style cakes. So it all comes down to what sugar paste you want to pick. Now, over the years I've used different brands, and I started off using the Renshaw's for doing the double barrel cakes, and it just cracks too much. I'm sorry to say that, Renshaw, but it does. Where the Massatacino is one of the more expensive sugar pastes, but I've never had any problems covering the cake, and that's what we're going to use today is the Massatacino. Okay, so it comes in a lovely, very space age looking, I feel like it should be in a spaceship actually, the way it's been designed, but it's this lovely foil packaging. So we just want to open it up. This is 1 kilo of sugar paste. Now, the other thing about this sugar paste is the smell. It smells really nice. I don't really like sugar paste. This one actually smells really nice, and it tastes nice as well. So that's also a big bonus. We're using an expensive sugar paste, at least it does taste quite nice as well. Now I'm going to say about 1.5 kilos for this, just to ice this. So I'm just going to cut that open. There we go. Okay, so if I just cut that in half. There we go. The other thing about this sugar paste is it doesn't dry out that quickly either. So you know, if you leave some scraps out to dry out quickly, this one seems to keep soft for longer, almost like modelling chocolate to a point. Okay, so you can use corn flour, cornstarch, or icing sugar. And now the one thing about this stuff is it's quite tough. Even when it's a really warm day today here in Scotland, it's still quite tough to soften up, which must be a good sign. It means it's quite a tough sugar paste for these sharp edges. Okay, so softened it down. It's actually not taking as long as I thought. Normally it takes longer than that. Okay, just soften it down. There we go. Okay. And this one. Okay. Now, there's a lot of chat online about icing cakes and making it really, really thin, the sugar paste. And it does help to get a really sharp finish. But going down to 2 millimeters thick, I think it's just a little bit scary. So I like to keep it more about 3 millimeters. 4 millimeters in thickness. Definitely not 5, it's too thick, 5, and it's going to cost you a lot more money. And that's the nice thing about this Massatacino, because is so good, you can roll it down relatively thin, so it goes further. Okay, so I don't want to over soften it, because I'll just put more air bubbles into the sugar paste. That's me out of breath already. Okay, so plenty icing sugar. Now the cake goes back in the fridge, and it has got a little bit of a tackiness to it, but if you want, you can put some sugar glue on there, or even just some alcohol, just to wet it, if you feel like you need to do that. But this is just a little bit tacky, and I'm happy with it. The sugar paste is going to stick on there just fine. Okay, right, okay, that's me got my breath back, so now we can move on to icing the cake. So a little bit of CPR, just to press down. And that just saves having to roll that down there. Lift it up, down there. Now, before we go, just a very quick one. So if you want to know how much sugar paste you need to roll out, look at the rolling pin against the cake. Now, if I put that down there, cross it across there, and down there, you can see that it just needs to be slightly bigger than the size of the rolling pin. And remember, the sugar paste will slightly stretch, okay? So as long as the sugar paste is slightly larger than the rolling pin. Now, you can get a string, but if you're icing lots of cakes all the time, it just becomes well, one, a waste of money, because you're getting your string covered in ganache all the time, so you can't really reuse it all the time. It just gets a bit messy. So just try and use your rolling pin where possible. Now you can see here, it is quite tough and stretchy. So it gets a bit elasticated, so it kind of stretches back in again. So it does take quite a lot of your upper body strength. So we're getting a good workout here, just to soften it down and get it rolled out. Okay. Now the key thing also when you're doing these cakes is the speed. Now if you sit here and you're having a wee chat with the person next to you that's making a different cake, what happens is the sugar paste starts to dry out too quickly. So we have to make sure we do get it iced, rolled out and iced very, very quickly. Okay, right, I think we're almost there. Okay, so is it slightly bigger? So it's just a bit more, actually we could go a wee bit longer. So it's, yep, it's good that way, so it's just this other way. I just want to give it one last stretch. There we are. Okay, so remember the wax on, wax off, so we just want to make sure it's warmed up on top. Okay, now I like to, with the taller ones, I do like to place the sugar paste on like this. Okay, so I'm over the cake and I come down, and it means I just get to gently just place it on and then drop it down like that. Okay, so once that's on there, it's just around, and what we want to do is just, first of all, just check to make sure there's no any big air bubbles up there. And all we want to go around is just round and lift up and just pull the sugar paste up to that edge. So lift the pleat and just pulling it up, always brushing up the way as you go around. Okay, open up and brushing up. And we just want to get that top edge sealed. Once that top edge is sealed, that's half the battle. Okay, there we are. Okay, so I'm just going to go around and just make sure that's definitely sealed on. Right, okay, so that's that bit done. Now you don't want to be standing like this for too long. Now what we want to do is we want to start going down the sides and then just working our way all the way around the cake. Okay, so let's bring it around here. We'll just start with this bit. So open this pleat up and then just brush. Just keep open the pleat. And as you go down, you can see here we just start to get to the bottom of the cake. Now I should have cut my nails this morning because they're a wee bit on the long side. So just be very careful not to dig your nails into the cake. Try not to get the nails in. Okay, so there we go. So that's the full height, and you can see how lovely and smooth, and there's no stretch marks at all. Okay, so just turn it around. Now to work on this bit, don't go down. Again, open it up, and you can open up part of the bit you've just flattened down, but that's what we're supposed to do. And then what we're doing is we're almost pushing that sugar paste against that flat bit. So we're always kind of stretching the sugar paste around the cake. So we're almost going back on ourselves a little bit. Okay, so you can see here now we've got 2 sections done, and we're just going to work our way all the way around the cake, the same thing. So again, open up, so you can see here, open up, over to this bit, and then start to brush that down. Just keep opening the pleats. Okay, and all the way to the bottom. Okay, so again, there's another section, so we're getting there, and just keep turning it around. Okay, so it's the same thing again. Now what you'll find is with some of the cheaper sugar pastes, it'll just be drying just now, it'll almost be dry, and then that's when you get all these horrible cracks that's happening. It's good that I'm doing this in a hot day, so it shows it's not just working when it's cold like in Scotland. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're getting there. Good, so that's me almost 2/3 the way around. Okay, again, just open up. I can definitely feel the temperature rising now. The blood pressure's going. There we are, all the way around. Okay, now you can see here, we're left with this, just put this little bit here. So again, just open up. So you can see what I was doing there, I'm stretching it round, so I'm always going back over that bit. That's the bit that you need to remember. If you just flatten it down, what happens is you just get more pleats and more pleats. And the time you get round to this end, you've got loads and loads of pleats, and that's what gives a problem, instead of having just 2 or 3 little pleats like this one. Okay, so open up again. Now you can see there, that was 1.5 kilos of sugar paste that I had, and there's absolutely tons left over. But you can see how it made it a lot easier. Now, if I had only a little bit of sugar paste, the pleats become more. So the bigger the sugar paste, the bigger the pleats, the easier it is. The smaller sugar paste, the smaller the pleats, the harder it is. So just remember that way as well. Okay, so give a hand a little clean. So I just want to go round. Just give it a nice smooth. And you can see there, we've got a lovely, nice iced double barrel cake, just like that. So what I want to do is just get your cake smoother. And I just want to go round and just trim off the excess from the bottom. Like so. And then I just want to remove the excess sugar paste. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to pop that out of the way. Right, now we want to go on to the smoothers. Now I've got my side smoothers here. And where's my, there we go. Okay, so on to the smoothing of the cake and giving it a good polish. Now, to start off with, I want to use the big ones, so the big smoothers, okay? And that's really just to get it started, okay? So you can use 2 hands, or if you prefer, you can just go around with the 1. Sometimes I prefer just the 1. And just going round, and we're just putting the pressure on and just starting to polish up the sides. There we go, and just keep working it. See, there's a few wee marks at the bottom, so I'm just putting more pressure at the bottom just to get rid of those little marks. Okay. Just do a little dance back and forward. Okay, and then a wee smooth on top as well. I think there's a wee airball just appeared at the top. It's always the same. So just get your pin tool. Okay. Okay, now I'm not going to spend too much time in the smoothing, but you really just go around, make sure you just put a lot of pressure, and you can always bring this smoother at the top just to start to do the top at the same time. And I'm always putting pressure at the bits where I want to press. So if I'm wanting to be more pressure down here, I'll move my hand down to the bottom of the smoother, or up and down, or if I want the whole thing, I'd hold it like this, okay? Or you can see then put my pinky at the bottom, and I'm going back and forward, okay? Oops. Yeah, just be careful that doesn't happen. Okay, and then on to the top bit. So you can see it, we've got quite a rounded edge, and what we're looking for is a bit more of a sharper edge. Okay, so these aren't any good for that. So just chuck them out of the way, and then move on to these. Now, you can buy these little acetate smoothers. These ones come from a company called Squire's Kitchen, and they come sometimes in a set of 2. So you get 2 larger ones, and then you get 2 slightly smaller ones. Okay. Now also we have this one, which is a homemade one. This is actually made from using a placemat from the pound shop or the dollar store, and it's just a placemat and just cut up. It was made from Way Beyond Cakes that made this for me, and you can see the colours wearing off it. So just watch. There's colour one side, and there's no colour, and that's the colour side there. So I'd use this side that's not got any print colour on it. And again, you can use that on the cake as well. But I'm just going to use these ones because these are designed for using on cake. Okay. Now you can see it's got a slight curve, so obviously I want the curve to be slightly on that way. And likewise for the side, again, you want, if it's got a little bit of a curve, even make it a curve, just so it's there. Okay. And all we want to do, get rid of that excess. Oops. Which way is that? Okay, pop that on there, and all we're doing is just going round it, and very gently we're bending the acetate or the plastic, and we're just creating that edge. And just work your way around it. You can just go round, slowly bringing it up. You can see my fingers from both hands are almost touching each other, and that's what's giving that sharp edge. Okay, so just all the way around. Okay, now I'm just going to do half the cake, just so that you can see the difference. Okay, so I just go back round to here, to where I started the edge. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start to get a little bit more closer. I take it down every so often just to make sure I'm not pressing too much just on the top part. Okay, so just work it around there. I'll just do a little bit more, and then that will show you the difference. Now you can see how long I've been working on this cake, and it's still not drying. So that's the good thing about the masticino. Now I keep on saying this about the masticino, but it was actually, I pinched the phrase from a student that had a 5-day course on, and she was doing the double barrel cake. This is from the wedding course, and she couldn't get it to go nice like this. It was always cracking. And then we just got the first shipment of the masticino, and I said, look, just use this. I've not used it yet, but just have a little shot. I'm sure it's going to be much better. And she iced the cake. She turned round to me and just called it the gold of sugar paste, because she'd been doing 3 or 4 hours to try ice this one cake. It didn't work. She opened the masticino, and bang, it iced perfectly, and she got a nice sharp edge. So I like to call it the gold of the sugar paste, just because it's just such a nice product to work with. Okay, so there we go. So I'm just going to stop there. Okay, and then all I want to do is just get this side smoother again, and just go round and just make sure and not got any lumps and bumps from using my fingers so close to the cake. Now, if we have a look there, I don't know if the camera will be able to pick this up or not actually, but you can see how it's lovely and sharp this bit is here, and then as I turn it round, you can then see a lot more rounded on this side. Okay, so you can see there, we've got a nice little iced cake, and we've got the sharp edge. So it's just down to you to have lots and lots of practice. Okay, so I'm going to tidy up. When we come back, I'm just going to explain how we'd stack the cake, and then that's us all finished. So just on to the last little demonstration I want to give you here today, and it's all about the sort of stacking of the cake. I've also not got another cake here because I'm just going to explain just in words really what we do here. So if you imagine you've got your little, I always call it like a tower block, like imagine an apartment block, and you've got each floor. So remember there's a card in there, so that's your card there. And then we're going to put the next level on, so kidding on, that's the cake, which is going to sit there, which is going to have if that's a cake, you're going to have a card here, and again you're going to have the card in there. So it's like an apartment block. So when people are asking to cut the cake, you say, well, that's how I always explain it. It's like a block of flats. Each level has got a card. So when they put the knife in, pull the knife down, the knife's going to stop where that card is. So they know where to cut around to remove that level. Okay, and that's how it works. So if we're going to put another cake on top of here, what we want to do is get a card. So it's a 4-inch round card. So you place the card on top and just lightly mark around with a tool, just to slightly get a mark. Once you've done that, take it off, and you can put up to 9 dowels, depending how many you want to put on it. It depends the distance of the cake, if it's going to be bumpy. If it's just going to be in the same building, then just put 4 or 5 dowels in. But I always like to put 9 dowels when it's 2 separate cakes you're getting put together, just so there's a proper strong table structure in there. Okay, so 9 dowels, a little bit of royal icing or ganache. You stick that down, some more ganache on there, and you want to carefully then lift the cake up, and then that gets stuck down on top of there, and then that's just got the stacked cake, just like that. Okay, so there we go. So that's all good. Now, a little last thing I want to just talk about is the sugar paste. Now, the Masticino sugar paste comes in the foil packets, but they're not resealable, which is the only thing that I'd say it's a little bit annoying about it. But the good thing is, see the label that comes off, it's on the top, it actually comes off. It comes off. Now, it actually comes off 2 ways. You can pull half of it off, and it actually tells you some more information inside. But if you really stick at it and pull, you can actually take the whole thing off. Yeah. It comes off really easily. So when you put it into your food bags, you can then just stick the label on top so you know which brand's which. So you've got the expensive ones and maybe the cheaper ones. So it's perfect so you know which sugar paste is which. So there we go. So hopefully that's gave you some insight into stacking and also icing and ganaching a double barrel cake.